So I have a film today. I have the video, and we're looking at a film, obviously. Now, I had thought, maybe we'll do The Life of Brian. And then I thought, you know what? I'd like to watch the film that we're going to actually do. And it was partway through watching that I thought, I know, let's do that. So I'll give you a hint on what we're doing before we start. 1962, Gregory Peck, The South, lawyer. There you go. Those are your hints. Now, unless you've already watched the title card, in which case you know exactly what we're doing. But that I will leave you to contemplate for a few moments. But before we start, remember, if you want to support us, there is our shop where we have writing services and books. There is our Redbubble shop where we have over 100 designs. And if you want to support us but you don't want to spend any money, that is totally fine. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. And that is a wonderful way to support us. Okay, so, as I said, 1962, Gregory Peck, The South, lawyer. And I know what everyone is going to think with that combination. You're going to think, it's To Kill a Mockingbird. No, I hate To Kill a Mockingbird. No, this is the other one where he's a lawyer in 1962. This one has Robert Mitchum. This one was remade in 1991 with Martin Scorsese directing, with Nick Nolte and Juliette Lewis and Robert De Niro. And I think Jessica Lange is also in that one. Got any ideas? Yeah, and finally, it was also spoofed on The Simpsons with Sideshow Bob, the 91 version. You know what we're talking about? Of course, it's Cape Fear. So, I watched these out of order. We are going to talk about both of them a little bit, but I actually watched these out of order because I was gathering up a bunch of Scorsese films to watch, and so I watched the remake, the one with Robert De Niro. And that one has some interesting changes that I'm going to talk about. But that's where I started with it. Now, that also has a cameo with Gregory Peck and Robert Mitchum. They also have cameos in that. So, it's Martin Scorsese. I'm really disappointed about his stance on AI. That's a little disturbing, but he is still the high priest of cinema. So anyway, we're talking mostly about the original one. And the original one is 1962. It is classified as a thriller. But part of what made me interested is like, yes, it's a thriller, but it's also sort of film noir-y and has that German expressionist quality to it as well that film noir films have, even though it's 1962. So it's probably one of the last ones to sort of sit in that film noir German expressionist, just at the tail end of that. So that was something that it was like, as I was watching it, it's like, this does. This does. In the same way the Night of the Hunter does. So it's a thriller, and it's about a lawyer, Sam Bowden, who helped, as a witness, put a man named Max Cady away for a sexual assault that he committed. He was a witness to this, and this got him convicted. Now, Max Cady, 8 years later, is out, and he blames Sam Bowden. Sam Bowden is a lawyer in it says small town, but that town doesn't look like a small town. It looks like just not the capital city of wherever this is. It's not really stated. It doesn't really matter. We know it's in the south. We know it's in the south. It's yeah. It's a bit irrelevant because it's just got that quality to it. That southern quality to it. He has a wife, he has a daughter, his daughter is a teenager, and Max Cady stalks him and his family. And this is part of what makes this so interesting, is it's 1962, so by 1962 the Hays Code that had really dictated what you could, what you couldn't show or in American cinema was sort of, everyone was pushing the boundaries of it. So you get films like Some Like It Hot, you get films like Night of the Hunter, you get films like Cape Fear, you get a lot of these films coming out in the late 60s that are sort of pushing at the edges of the Hays Code and saying, what can we get away with? What can we get away with? Because it will fall apart very soon. Like during the 60s, the Hays Code will essentially fall apart and it will be replaced by the rating system that we now know. So you can see this happening. And it's definitely pushing certain limits of what's possible in terms of content, less so in terms of what is shown. The newer film is Max Cady is far more violent. Like the threat of De Niro's Max Cady versus the threat of Robert Mitchum's Max Cady is very similar, but Robert De Niro is more overtly violent. He's just very violent and very scary. That's not to say that Robert Mitchum is not very scary. In fact, considering the limitations, the way that Robert Mitchum's character is made frightening is really interesting because it relates to what happens to Gregory Peck's hero. So Max Cady starts stalking the family, and he eventually, when there are no legal means to do anything about this, because while he was inside with both films, Max Cady studied the law, so he knows exactly how to walk that very fine line of the law and what is allowed and what will get him into trouble. So he walks that line of threat and intimidation and just there's a level of Darvo in it, which is an interesting thing. That's a form of abuse that turns the abuser into looking like the victim, which is very interesting, his use of that. The newer film is more overt about his violence. We don't see a lot of Max Cady's violence till we get to the climax of it, where by that point we know he is really scary. So when he kills a guy, we're not really shocked that he kills a guy. But films of this period had violence, so really violence isn't the thing. What is actually interesting is the use of intimidation and the stalking that Max Cady engages in, because by doing that, what he does is that he feminizes Sam Bowden. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? It's actually really interesting, because by staying on this very narrow side of the law, Max Cady renders Sam Bowden utterly impotent. He becomes feminized. And I don't know, you will have to see, you will have to tell me, if you're a man who has watched this movie, is like, how scary is Max Cady? Because watching the film as a woman, Max Cady is that terrifying giant red flags that almost every woman is wary of. They won't go near them. They are afraid of them because they have those giant red flags. It is the behavior of someone who it's like, oh, you're not going to treat me very well at all. Most women will do that. Most women will recognize this is abusive behavior. And most women will recognize the I can't do anything, which is Sam Bowden's position, his powerlessness. The only difference is, and this is the big difference is, for a great many women going to the police with these sorts of fears, suspicions, I think this person poisoned my dog, I think this person is stalking me, these sorts of things are not taken often, not always, but are often, far too often, not taken as seriously as the police take Sam Bowden, because Sam Bowden's a man. And Sam Bowden's frustration is that he can't act like a man. He has been put into this feminized place. And so it actually is, it's where he reasserts that masculinity is actually at the end of the film with when they're up in Cape Fear. That is when he can reassert that, when he can actually do an active thing. And when I say feminized, he is made passive. He is unable to defend himself. He's unable to defend his family. He's been given that passive role. It's also, what's also interesting is the other way you can look at that is it is the civilized person. The civilized person against the uncivilized person, which is, a very, very old story. That's the story of the Iliad. It is Ilium, no matter how civilized and advanced or just, wealthy and powerful Ilium is, Troy is, against an onslaught of barbarian Greeks. You either meet them or you will be overwhelmed. And that is that difficulty. You can be as civilized as anything, but what does a civilized person do in the face of the barbarians at the gates? What does the civilized man do when faced with a Max Cady? Now, the other thing that makes this interesting is it's by doing this, by having Gregory Peck in this position, Sam Bowden, Gregory Peck's character, in this position, it really undercuts that narrative, especially the 40s and 50s, of the John Wayne type of masculinity, which Gregory Peck never really was quite that version of masculinity, which is obviously why he's cast in a film like this and you don't have John Wayne, so he isn't, as an actor, he doesn't seem to really have those sorts of roles primarily. you get some more, but they are usually more active than this one. This is particularly a passive role, which is why it's like, I think part of the frustration that comes from that performance is I am being made passive. It is this, as I said, he's been put into a feminized position, and he does not like that. He doesn't like that because he can't act. He can't act because Max Cady is not doing anything enough to allow action. And that's, and it's the way that the others, his behavior manipulates others, so that point where Nancy gets caught, sees him coming when she's sitting in the car, and he doesn't actually do anything, but she panics and runs and ends up running in front of a car. And that's something that is also part of that what makes him so terrifying is it's not that he's done anything, it's the threat that he does it something, and it's the danger that he puts people into through the fact that they will act out of character or irrationally, and then that in turn makes them look unreliable. So there's a lot of it's very, very interesting how this story, this thriller of this is so very much like this is what abusive people do. So that's really interesting. I did think that the newer movie, the 91, what's interesting is whereas Gregory Peck is quite upstanding and was a person roped into testifying against this person, against Max Cady, and locking him up. In the remake, he has withheld evidence at the trial beforehand. That's why Max Cady is after him. He has deliberately withheld evidence that got him convicted, whereas he would have got off. Also, Nick Nolte's Sam Bowden is very, very much more ineffectual rather than feminized. So he's passive, but partly he's passive because he is a bit useless. I think when I think of that film, though, the standout of that film is Juliette Lewis. There is a really intense scene. And when I watched it, it's sort of what it is the equivalent of the chase of the being frightened at the school scene. But he's at the school and she's alone and he talks with her, and she gives a performance of fawn, which is one of the 4 fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Fawn is really hard for people to quite understand. Juliette Lewis does a wonderful performance of fawn. I've seen people talk about it of, oh, she's flirting with him. No, she's not. She's terrified. And that's part of the reason why fawn is such a difficult reaction for people to get their head around. Is it looks like, I'm going to be nice to you. I'm going to be nice to you in the hope that you don't hurt me. I'm going to be nice to you. I'm going to keep smiling. It's not a real smile. It's just I'm going to keep smiling and I'm going to giggle. And I am feeling so incredibly uncomfortable. I'm really hoping you'll go away really, really soon because I am so scared of you. And a person with low emotional intelligence, which is generally a person who is going to provoke that in you, because they can't tell I'm uncomfortable and now I've gone in, I am so uncomfortable, I have gone into fawn. That person is going to massively misread that. And it's really, it's a way of, it is an automatic response. It's not something that you can actually control. A lot of women go into that, and when Juliette Lewis performs that, it's like, oh my goodness, oh God, you poor thing. She's terrified. It's this wonderful performance of fawning terror. And I've seen people who've left comments on things when, like, you know, when you, like on YouTube or whatever, and they think she's flirting. It's like, oh honey, no, she's not flirting. She's so not flirting. Which is like why I say people of low emotional intelligence don't fully understand how fawn works. But that is probably the best in terms of like really conveying how terrifying Max Cady is, in some ways more than the violence in that film. I don't like the ending. The ending has a typical sort of Hollywood in the 90s unstoppable killer type of ending, which I think's inferior to the original. The Robert Mitchum is scary. Robert Mitchum is really, really scary. Robert Mitchum is not immortal and is not like one of those unstoppable killers. He is still a man. He is a very big, very strong man who is going to take quite a bit to keep him subdued. But he's not this unstoppable killer who can't feel pain type of thing. So I did not like that aspect of the remake. But going back to the original has the other part of this that's interesting. And now this is not done by a big name director. Now Scorsese uses certain shots, which is why part of the reason I wanted to look at the original after I'd seen the Scorsese, because there are certain shots that's like, oh, that's a really 60s shot. That's a really 60s sort of shot. And I wanted to go back and have a look at the original. This wasn't the first time I'd watched it, just last night. I wanted to go back and have a look at the original because I thought, oh, is he doing homages with the shots? No, because the original, the shots that are interesting look more like German expressionist film or film noir. And I do have to say that the end, which is shot at night, is shot in with the dark. It is not shot day for night shots, which a lot of things in the 50s and 60s did that. So you get this high contrast, blacks and whites and greys. You get these really deep shadows. So there is a lot of that high contrast interplay. There's a lot of that deep shadow work, which, considering this is a bright world. It's the South. It's clearly hot. There's a lot of outdoor daytime stuff. So it manages to be claustrophobic. The film manages to be both claustrophobic and clearly open. So you get this really weird tension of the fact that the world is going on as normal, sunny days, beautiful weather, everything happening, everything out, it's big, it's open, and this appalling threat is just closing in and making all of that oppressive, so that the heat, but whereas heat is often seen as relaxing and we're out, we're having fun, that this is oppressive. This becomes oppressive heat. This is the tension and the oppression of having this man stalking them. Everyone else, and that's where that contrast works really well, is everyone else is out having a good time, out enjoying the fact that it's beautiful weather, out enjoying the sunshine, and yet we start to feel very oppressed. So yeah, I'm not gonna spoil the ending. I don't think I've spoiled the endings of either of them. I mean, look, you probably know Cape Fear. It's not like it's an obscure film. But do I recommend it? Yes, I recommend it. Watch the original. Also watch the Scorsese. It's Martin Scorsese. It's Robert De Niro. I mean, are we going to pass up a Robert De Niro Scorsese? No, we're not. So watch it, but I didn't like the end of that as much. It is far more violent than the original, obviously, because it's 1991 versus 1962. So it is more graphically violent, but at the same time, it's not so violent that you're going to be, hopefully not, too much. The original is absolutely, do not think, it's 1962, it's black and white, how scary or intense could this thing be? Really intense. It's not scary as such, but it's really intense. It is a thriller. It does have jumps in it. I don't actually jump because it's like my brain is going, it's 1962, you're not going to end up with something violent. The newer one definitely has more of that, but I think that Nick Nolte's version of Sam Bowden is not nearly as sympathetic, and he's not nearly as likable as Gregory Peck, and I think that has a bit of an impact on your sympathies with him. So that does shift things. You definitely feel for Gregory Peck's Sam Bowden. You feel for the fact that he is left with his hands tied for so much of the film, so that when he comes up with the plan to take his family up to Cape Fear to lure Katie out into actually committing a crime, it feels like, in spite of the fact that is the point where the film actually visually becomes more closed as they're on the river and in the thick bayou, it's actually where in some ways it opens up a bit, because all of a sudden our male hero is in the male role. He's in the action role again. He is able to be active. Whereas everywhere he turned previously, he could not be active, because being active would mean he breaks the law, because it would be unprovoked, even though it's very clearly provoked. But that's the ability of Robert Mitchum's menace to come through, is this person is a threat. You as the audience is never in doubt, but you also know that's what how it works. That's how it works. It works by making you think you're crazy, by trying to push you to act so that they can be a victim. It is absolutely a textbook of how an abusive person victimizes someone. And perhaps it is more easy to see when the person being victimized is a man by someone out there rather than a woman with someone in the house with her. So I thought that was really an interesting element of it, which I don't think I thought of the first time I saw it, but definitely I saw it this time. And it is interesting that it's Gregory Peck, because Gregory Peck does have that more, a certain softer image than a lot of the macho men of the same period. Gregory Peck, he was of an age that he would have served in the Second World War. You know why he didn't serve in the Second World War, and why there are films of him as a very young man in the 40s? He injured his back dancing, with the studio teaching him to dance. He injured his back, and then the studio was so embarrassed that their young star had injured his back dancing that they put it out that he'd injured his back playing football, to why he was unfit for service. So there you go. Just to at that point where other Hollywood stars at the time were actually, Jimmy Stewart and Frank Capra. Frank Capra went in as a film corps, and Jimmy Stewart was a fighter pilot or a bomber pilot. John Wayne draft dodged. And Gregory Peck injured his back and was not fit for service. So there you go. Yeah. But Cape Fear. Cape Fear, 1962. You want a lawyer movie from 1962 with Gregory Peck? I'd go with Cape Fear, not To Kill a Mockingbird, but that's me. Anyway, have a look at both of them. They are both good. They're both good. They both have some unbelievably good performances. I would say that Robert Mitchum, if I had not seen Night of the Hunter, I would say that this would be, this is scary Robert Mitchum, but I think he's pretty much of a muchness between this and Night of the Hunter. The difference in Night of the Hunter is he's hunting children, and he's killed a lot of people. But we did talk about Night of the Hunter in my 6 films to get you to German, from Buster Keaton to German Expressionism. So if you want to see my thoughts on Night of the Hunter, that's where to find that. But yeah, watch Cape Fear. It is good. It is really, really good. Watch the new one. It is also good. And I will see you again with another film later. Auf Wiedersehen. If you would like to support this channel, come across to the Black Cockie Press website, www.blackcockiepress.com.au, where you will find books and other writing services to help with your writing.